Hey there, study enthusiasts. You ready to really boost your learning? We're going deep today into some really effective study habits. Learn how to soak up info and make it stick.
It really is fascinating. We always think about how much time we study, but it's how we use that time that matters. Working smarter, not harder, right?
For sure. And, I'm seeing this theme through all the stuff we've been looking at. It's all about being intentional. Like the really successful students, they don't just open a book and hope for the best. They have specific goals for every study session.
Yeah. It's like using a laser pointer instead of just a regular flashlight. So instead of just saying, I'm going to study history, you say, I'm gonna master the causes of the French Revolution, by the end of this study session. That makes it less overwhelming and way more productive.
Love that. It's like having a roadmap for studying.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of maps, one technique that really jumped out at me was this OK4R method. Have you ever heard of that one?
Oh yeah, the OK4R. That's a classic. It stands for overview, key ideas, read, recall, reflect, and review. It's like a step-by-step for taking on those textbooks.
Okay, so walk me through it. How would I use this to actually study, let's say, a chapter on the human nervous system?
Okay, so imagine you're opening that chapter for the first time. Don't just dive into the text. You start with the overview. Skim the headings, subheadings, the intro paragraphs, summaries. Just get a feel for the big picture.
So you kind of set the stage before getting into the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. Then you read it. But because you've already got that mental framework, it's much more likely to stick. Next is recall. Close the book and try to summarize the main points in your own words.
Active recall. We're seeing that pop up a lot.
It's fundamental. Then after recall, you reflect. Connect this new information to stuff you already know. You think about what it means, how you can use it in real life. Then finally review. Go back over the stuff at different times so you really understand it. And don't forget.
Makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of cramming it all in last minute, you're reinforcing all those connections over time.
Right. And this ties into another big thing, time management. We've all got the same 24 hours, but how we use them makes all the difference.
This is where the Pomodoro technique comes in, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot about it, but I've never actually tried it.
It's simple, but so powerful. It's about working in these focused bursts, 25 minutes of just hard work, then a 5-minute break. Keeps your mind sharp and prevents burnout.
So it's not just how much time, but how we organize that time to be more focused and remember more.
Exactly. And this brings us to another super important thing, our study environment. Where you study can have a huge impact on how well you concentrate and learn.
I know that's true. I'm way more productive when my space is clean and there are no distractions.
It's like you're sending a signal to your brain, okay, focus time, find a quiet spot in the library, set up a place at home just for studying, or even get some noise-canceling headphones, anything to block out distractions.
I really like some ambient noise, actually.
Yeah.
It helps me focus, but I don't feel so isolated.
Yeah, there's no one solution for everybody. It's about trying things out and seeing what works for you. And speaking of what works for you, let's talk learning styles. Do you learn best by reading, listening, or doing things?
I'm definitely a visual learner. I love using diagrams and mind maps. Even doodling sometimes helps me learn.
That's great. It shows how important it is to use all your senses when you study. Using sight, sound, touch, even smell sometimes, it can make learning way more vivid and memorable.
This is making so much sense. We're not just empty vessels, we're active in the learning process. It's all about shaping our learning to fit us.
Absolutely. And there's more and more research that backs this up. The more we know about how our brains learn, the better we can unlock our potential. It's like we're putting together our own toolkit for learning. Each technique is a different tool, and the more tools you have, the better you can handle anything.
I like that. What other tools should we be adding to our kit? What else do these sources say?
One that's really powerful is teaching. Even if you don't have a student, explaining something to someone else, even if it's just in your head, it really helps you understand.
Wow. It's like you have to organize it in a way that makes sense to somebody else and that makes you understand it better too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like active recall, but to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of active recall, how about note-taking? Are you somebody who writes down every little thing or just a few key points?
I try to find a good balance. I don't want to write everything, but I need my notes to actually be useful when I look back at them.
That's the key. There are some really cool tricks to make notes more effective. One is to add a column for recall clue words.
Recall clue words. What's that?
It's all about creating, memory triggers just for you. Say you're taking notes about different types of rock formations. In that recall column, you might write down words like volcanic or sedimentary or metamorphic, depending on the rock. Then when you're studying, those words will help you remember.
Oh, that's smart. It makes your notes a tool, not just a bunch of words. And it goes right along with active learning and recall that we were talking about.
Totally. And this goes with another great technique, spaced repetition. Ever heard of the forgetting curve?
Yeah, kind of. It's like how fast we forget something after we learn it, right?
Exactly. It shows that we forget a lot of stuff really quickly if we don't review. Spaced repetition fixes this. You schedule review sessions at different times.
Okay, so instead of cramming right before a test, you're spreading out your studying, so it goes into long-term memory.
Exactly. And there's tons of apps and websites that can help you do it automatically. You can make flashcards, take quizzes, and even get reminders when it's time to review.
Technology can be so helpful when you use it right, but it can also be a huge distraction.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's two sides of the same coin, right? So much info, but then there's notifications, social media, all these things fighting for your attention.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that, going down the social media rabbit hole when I should be studying.
We've all been there. That's why it's so important to set boundaries, like make certain times and places tech-free, especially when you need to study. Some people even block certain websites or turn off their phones so they can focus.
It's like creating a little bubble where you can really focus and not get bombarded by all the outside stuff.
Exactly. It's all about being mindful and present. If you're always switching between tasks and checking your phone, your brain just can't focus on learning.
It's like trying to have a serious conversation and scroll through social media at the same time. It just doesn't work. You can't do both.
You got it. And that leads to another really important part of learning, taking care of yourself. You can't expect your brain to work if you're tired, dehydrated, or living on junk food.
It's all connected, right? Our physical health really affects how well we can think.
For sure. Exercise, healthy food, enough sleep. Those aren't just good for your body, they're crucial for your brain to work right. Think of it like this. Our brains are like these super powerful machines, and they need the right fuel to run well.
So it's not just about study hacks. It's about treating your whole self well so you can learn.
That's it. And that brings us to another amazing tool for learning, working with others. Have you ever been stuck on something and then figured it out by talking with a classmate?
Oh yeah, all the time. Sometimes just hearing it from someone else or explaining it myself makes everything clear.
It's amazing. Study groups can be so helpful. You get to share ideas, ask questions, and really understand things together.
It's like having a team to support you and cheer you on.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just for school stuff. Think about learning a language, music, any new skill. Having other people there makes it more fun and rewarding.
It's about remembering that we don't have to do everything alone.
Right. And this leads to another big takeaway, having a growth mindset.
I've heard that phrase before. What does it actually mean for learning?
It's all about seeing challenges as chances to learn and grow, not roadblocks. People with a growth mindset believe that they can always get smarter, they just have to work at it. They don't get defeated by setbacks, they use them to get better.
So it's more about enjoying learning and not just the end result.
Exactly. It's about loving to learn and believing that you can always improve.
This deep dive has been so insightful. I've learned so much about learning. It's not just about memorizing facts or passing tests. It's about loving to learn and believing that you can always grow.
I couldn't have said it better. It's about enjoying the whole journey, even the tough parts, and trusting that with the right mindset and tools, you can do anything.
Okay, so to wrap things up, what's the one piece of advice you'd give our listeners who are ready to start learning like pros?
Be curious, don't give up, and be nice to yourself. Learning takes time. You'll get stuck sometimes, but don't quit. Remember that every challenge helps you grow, and every little step forward is a win.
It's so inspiring. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Happy learning. Okay, so we've talked about a lot, right? Goal setting, time management, active recall, working with others. But how do we actually use these techniques in a way that works for us and that we can keep doing?
That's what matters, isn't it? It's not about following all these rules perfectly. It's about knowing yourself and how you learn best and building a system that works for you, not against you.
So it's like we're creating our own personalized way to learn.
Exactly. And it starts with figuring out who you are as a learner. What are you good at? What are you not so good at? Do you need structure or do you need to be more flexible? Do you learn better by reading, listening, or by actually doing things?
Oh yeah. Once you know what kind of learner you are, you can start trying different things and see what works. It's like trying on clothes until you find something that fits right.
I like that. And remember, there's no one perfect way to learn. What works for one person might not work for someone else at all. It's all about finding what works for you.
So it's about experimenting and trying new things.
Yeah. And it's a process that never really ends. As we grow and change, how we learn best might change too. The important thing is to be curious, keep trying new things, and always look for ways to learn better.
What about staying motivated? How do we stay motivated when things get tough?
That's where the growth mindset comes in. Remember, it's about seeing those tough parts as chances to learn and grow. Don't get discouraged when you hit a wall. Use it to figure out a better way to do things.
It's like those posters that say, failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it.
Yeah, and it's more than just thinking positive. It's about actually looking for challenges, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and even celebrating the small wins along the way.
So it's like finding that balance between challenging yourself but not getting so overwhelmed that you give up.
Exactly, and that balance is different for everybody. The key is to listen to yourself and make changes as you need to.
This has been such an amazing deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of learning now. It's not just about memorizing facts and passing tests. It's about really loving to learn and knowing that you can always keep growing.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's about enjoying the whole process, all the ups and downs, and trusting that with the right tools and mindset, you can do anything.
So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you would tell our listeners who are ready to take their learning to the next level?
Be curious, keep going, and be kind to yourself. Learning takes time. There will be times when you feel stuck or like giving up, but don't. Remember, every challenge helps you grow, and every step forward, no matter how small, is something to celebrate.
That's amazing advice. Thanks for being here, everyone, and happy learning.